So, moving on. Michelle Tongai. Hello, Michelle. Back again. Why do you conservatards, thank you very much, continually accuse Obama of being responsible for the existence of ISIS? The reason, Michelle, is because Obama is responsible for the existence of ISIS. Just because he was mentored by the new left visionist capable of having the insight to ally with Islamic jihadist ideology is not probable cause to blame him for imaginary atrocities. Covered this a lot, and I'll make it quick. Barack Obama inherited an Iraq. He fought as a senator, and his entire political career and all of his progressives in arms, there's fellow travelers, are anti-war people. He fought the Iraq War, and he fought the Iraq War when the Iraq War was going rather badly. But the Iraq that he inherited in 2009 had been won by George Bush and the men who died over there, men and women, and the surge. By the time he took office, the number of combat casualties in Iraq were virtually zero. When you remove American power from the world, bad things happen, because American power is the lawnmower, and the grass is growing all the time. I've said to people, if you don't want to mow the grass every day, you shouldn't complain about weeds in the lawn, because the default state of mankind is not a well-manicured lawn and garden. The default state of the world is weeds. If you want to live in the weeds, you don't have to do anything. If you want to live with a nice manicured lawn and a nice garden, you have to work on that every day. And so, by abandoning Iraq to itself, he gave the few survivors of al-Qaeda that had been killed in the deserts of Iraq by George Bush and the U.S. military, he gave them not only room to grow, not only time to grow, he gave them the moral permission to grow. And he also gave them not just the idea that we were going to leave, but the promise that we were going to leave and when. So if I'm getting my brains beat in by the U.S. Army and the U.S. Marine Corps and the Air Force and the Navy and all these other guys, and they're just knocking my head in, and every day I wake up and more of my comrades and friends are dead because of these deadly Wu-Tang Clan sons of bitches come over from Virginia and wherever else they come from and kicking our butt. If I'm about to get my entire philosophy bashed in, I'm going to surrender sooner or later. But then if all of a sudden the guy who's put in charge of these guys that are kicking my ass here says, yeah, we're going to keep kicking your ass for another 6 months, then we're going to stop, and then 2 years after that, we're going to leave, and we're never coming back. Then I don't have to think about surrendering anymore, which was the only sensible thing to do, or putting all this stuff down and going back to work and getting on with my life. Then I realized all I have to do is hang on. All I have to do is just hang on until they go, because they're promising that they're going to go. And then when they go, I'll do a little bit of testing. I'll check and test and kick the tires, and I'll stick my head out, and maybe I'll behead one person or two people or whatever, and I'll see what they do. If they come swinging in there and knocking me down, then I'm going to stop beheading people. But if they don't, then I'll start beheading 10 people, and I'll start taking over towns, and maybe I'll machine gun down a group of kids or something. And then I'll see what they do. And if they don't do anything, then I'll take more towns, and I'll kill more people, and I'll get everything I want, and I'll get all ginned up. Next thing you know, I've got a third of the country. That's what happens when you promise your enemies you're going to go away. It's what happens when you stop mowing the lawn. And people are surprised that the weeds are growing. We paid a high price for winning the war in Iraq. We paid a high price for winning the war in Vietnam, too, which we did. We won the war in Vietnam. It's not up for discussion. It's not my opinion. When the Vietnamese War started, it started because the North Vietnamese invaded the South. And after 11 years and 56,000 Americans killed, I'm not saying the Vietnam War was fought well, and I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm trying to say is when the war was over, the boundaries of South Vietnam were the same as it were at the beginning of the war. We defended South Vietnamese from the communists and the socialists in the North, and we won the Vietnamese War because we started bombing them. We won the Iraq War, too. We just are losing the peace because once the Republicans win the war, the Democrats take over and lose the peace, because they have to lose the peace, because if we win wars, then America is powerful, and a powerful America is not in their interest. That's their definition of these progressives. Pretty simple, really. So yes, he gets blamed for it because he's responsible for it. I know he claims he's not responsible for anything, but he is. He's responsible for this. He's been president for 5 years. 5 years. Iraq is the graveyard of al-Qaeda, and the few survivors of al-Qaeda formed ISIS. And they ain't done yet. And when they know we're serious, Well, they won't know we're serious until somebody gets serious with them, and there's going to be a lot of blood between now and then. Allo Conson has a follow-up question on that. He said, what kind of violent jerk thinks that war solves anything? This kind of violent jerk thinks that war solves anything. This kind thinks that war solves anything. You're looking at a guy, and the reason I think that war solves, I'm not saying war solves everything. The reason I'm saying war does solve some things pretty effectively is not because I like war, because I don't actually like war, you see. I like warriors. I like military hardware. There are elements of the is it sort of primal quality of life at war that bring out the best and the worst of people. But with all of that said, war is unmitigated horror for everybody. And the people who are the victors come back as damaged, in many cases, the people who don't come back as all. War is nothing but awful. It's nothing but awful all the way around. That's why I'm so strongly in favor of our war fighters. I am so strongly in favor of our military because I understand how god-awful war is, and I don't want war. I'm in favor of the military because I like peace. Very much. And the only way to maintain peace is to become so strong that nobody F's with you. And this is the one thing that the cowards on the left will not face. When I say cowards, I don't mean just moral cowards, although they are moral cowards. I mean the personal cowards on the left. These are people who have been bullied their entire lives. And I was bullied when I was a kid, and I didn't have the guts to do anything about it. But I realize now that if I had, and you know what, I have to give myself a little bit of a break here. I just had something flash into my head. I remember being bullied around and pushed around in 7th grade at Shenandoah High School, and you know what? It's actually not true. I did in fact have the guts to do something about it. One morning we had first period phys ed, and it was damn cold, at least for Miami standards in the wintertime. It was probably 50 degrees something, 53 degrees, which I know is not cold for most real people, but in Florida that was pretty damn chilly. And we were out there at first period about 7:30 in the morning, and as usual at Shenandoah Junior High, there were 3 tribes there. There were black kids, there were Cuban kids, and there were white kids. And we white kids were bussed in from places like Coral Gables and Key Biscayne, and we were like lambs in terms of our level of violence. And there were these Cuban kids that were giving me a lot of trouble. And we were playing basketball one day, and some guy got it into my face about something, and he threw he's right here, and he threw the basketball, and it hit me in the nose, and I punched him in the mouth. Just like that. I didn't think twice about it. You know, screaming, yelling, he threw this thing, hit me in the nose, and I punched him in the mouth. So we get off of the basketball court, and I spend the rest of the day thinking, oh my God, because this guy and I had not been, pals. He'd been giving me a lot of crap for a long time. And I thought, now I'm going to pay. Now I'm going to pay. He threw a basketball in my nose. I punched him in the mouth, and now he's going to kill me. He and his friends are going to get together, and they're going to kill me. And I met him outside of the auditorium, and he was like 3 lockers down from me. And he came and undid his lock, and I undid my lock. This was like the next day or something like that. And I thought, man, he's going to slit my throat. And I looked over at this guy, and he looked over at me, and he said, hey, how's it going? I said, okay, how are you? He says, yeah, cool, it's good. Off he goes. That actually happened to me, and I never forgot it, although I apparently have. But most liberals don't get it's such a bad habit. Even I'm in. These progressives don't get the message. They don't have the look. I wish I could tell you it was the guts to hit this guy in the nose or in the mouth. I guess I wish I could tell you I had it all sorted out and said I'm going to go stop bullying today. I'm just going to next time this guy. No, he threw a basketball, hit me in the nose, and it hurt and it pissed me off. So I hit him in the mouth, and that was the end of it. That was the end of it. Not only did that guy never give me any more trouble, but none of his friends gave me any more trouble. As a matter of fact, they were kind of nice to me. And it was only, when I say many years later, I mean like 2-3 years ago that I began to realize what's going on here. That bullying is built into biology. It's not it's not just a human activity. It's built into biology. There's a great story, I forget who told me this, but it's not a little story. It's just a simple anecdote, one of billions of anecdotes. But basically, it was something to the effect of these mares were together, and this one mare gave birth, and this foal came out, and all the mares were around the foal, and they were nudging it and trying to get it to its feet, but there was something wrong with the foal. It either had a bad leg or it had a deformed leg or something like this. And the mares were trying to get this foal on its feet and walking around, and the stallion came up and took a look at it and realized that this foal was deformed. And the stallion just went in there and stomped it to death. Now that's horrible. And if you think I'm coming out in favor of bullying, you're wrong, because we're not animals in that regard. That's what makes us human, is that we're not animals. I don't think the weak should be stomped to death. On the contrary, that's what the Nazis think. That's what socialists think. No, I don't think that at all. I think the weak and the sick need to be protected. But biologically, what the stallion was doing was making sure that the entire herd was able to survive against predators, because it's not just that they would have to take... I'm not saying that the horses were smart enough to figure this out, but the genes were smart enough to figure it out, because millions of years of trial and error produced some pretty effective mechanisms. The stallion was wired to kill that weak offspring, because the stallion's genes forced him to do it. It was a behavior that was encoded. It was an instinctive behavior encoded in the stallion's DNA. And the reason that behavior was encoded was because those stallions that didn't have it encoded were killed by predators, because they not only had to take care of that one weak foal, they would have had to take care of all of the weak foals that foal had passed those defective genes onto. And it's only recently I've realized that human bullying is that mechanism activated in certain individuals. And what bullies are doing, bullies are attacking the weak. And they're not attacking the weak because they want their lunch money, and they're not attacking the weak because they would otherwise attack strong kids, but only weak kids won't provide any resistance. This is a relatively new insight for me. Bullies attack the weak because they're wired to attack the weak. And what bullies are looking for, biologically, genetically, is they are looking for somebody to punch them in the nose, because when somebody punches a bully in the nose, it deactivates the contempt and the hatred that bullies have for weakness. And you see this all throughout the animal kingdom. When I hit that bully in the lip, I won't say he became a friend of mine, but he not only didn't give me any more crap, but actually treated me with respect, because he had assumed that I was weak and had to be destroyed. And when he found out that I wasn't weak, he no longer felt like he had to destroy me. And on some level, he probably thought, I misjudged this guy. He's stronger than I thought he was. I respect that. So, I don't like bullies, and I don't think bullying is good or necessary. But educating bullies will not work. It's not that they don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And when you go up to a bully and say, hey, here's all my lunch money, just leave me alone, that doesn't solve the problem. That makes the problem worse. That's more weakness. It's more submission. That's not what they're keyed for. And when you say to bullies, I guess this must have something to do with the fact that you have poor relations with your dad, or then they're going to hurt you worse. What bullies want is they want to be punched in the nose so that they can get on with their job of checking out the rest of the herd. And lots of people are terrorized by bullies, and I was one of them. And if I'd had the common sense to know that, if I'd had a better dad, frankly. Look, he told me this. It's not that my dad didn't tell me this. It's just he didn't tell me in a way that it got through, and furthermore didn't provide me with enough self-defense confidence to give it a try earlier. It's only when that basketball hit me in the nose that pain just kind of activated that response in me. I guess just how I'm wired. But there you go. What we need to do is we need to teach kids, the weak kids and the soft kids, we need to teach them that this is a test for them. And it's a test that they're going to have to pass. And the test is, you will have to endure pain one time. I think that's really what it comes down to. Maybe not even pain, really. Maybe not even pain. You're going to have to show courage one time. Once you show courage one time, that'll probably do it. And I'm not the only person who's had this experience, and everybody who's ever had any comments with bullies, any experience with bullies will tell you if you hit them back, they leave you alone. It's not news. I didn't invent this. It's important. It's important. And you can't legislate it and around it, and you can't educate around it. You are stuck with it. It's in the genes. And so you have to respond in a way that deactivates those genetic commands, which is with some sort of strength. Even resistance. You don't have to be strong. You just have to resist. They want to kill the weak. You have to show them you're not weak. And that's it. You don't have to beat them up, and you don't have to threaten with hurting them. They're looking to know whether you are fit to survive or not. And you have to show them you are. It's not nice, but it's true. Excuse me one second. Small tradition here on the Stratosphere Lounge show. Well, let's see. I'm so sorry. I know this is awkward. Every second or third episode we get... that'll... oh, my goodness. I love my job so much. 1 minute and 40 seconds into the show. I have to write that down. Okay. So much for bullying. I'm sorry. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay. So moving on. To answer the question, Ella, what kind of jerk thinks war solves anything? Ask the Nazis if war solved anything. Ask the Imperial Japanese believers in the cult of Bushido. Ask the Confederates. Ask the Gauls. You could ask the Saxons. You could ask the Aztecs or the Incas. Ask any of them. If you can find any, it solves everything when it's applied to its logical conclusion. I will agree that unfinished war not only doesn't solve anything, unfinished war creates more problems than an unstarted war does. If you're going to fight somebody, you have to beat them. And as my dad said to me when I was a little boy, for reasons that I could not understand to save my life, I couldn't understand it to save my life, but he said to me when I was 6, Bill, if you ever pull a gun on somebody, you have to shoot them. Not be prepared to shoot them, that I understood. He said, you ever pull a gun and level a gun at somebody with your finger on the trigger, you have to shoot them. And the reason you have to shoot them is because if you threaten somebody's life and you don't put them out of commission, they'll kill you. Took me a while to figure that out. I just got a request from Astronerd to see the propeller hat, which I may have handy. 1 second, excuse me. It's a special viewer request. Don't go anywhere. Astronaut, I don't seem to have it with me. I was given a propeller that goes. It turns any hat in any baseball cap into a beanie. It's a propeller. It's somewhere. I was looking on the floor over there in the corner because that's where the remains of my bag are. And the reason they're over there in the corner is because I threw my bag against the wall. And if I'd had a baseball bat, I would have smashed it with a bat and knocked it against the walls. That kind of day earlier today. I'll pick up all that stuff later. Your propeller is not in there. It's intact someplace, and I'll go looking for it. I probably took it out at home. But like I say, it was kind of a feral day. I think if I'd gotten that text earlier, I would have been happier. Anyway, so war does solve things when you fight a war to its full conclusion. Moving on.